Look at this box, isn't it neat? Will this packaging make my collection complete? Is this the toy to finish off everything? It's got gadgets and gizmos aplenty, micro masters and blasts and more. But can I stop here? Is this enough? No, it's not. I want Death's Sword. Alright, so with all those shenanigans aside, this is what you're left with in terms of what you get in the package. We'll go through all of it, but I don't want you to be stuck here for an eternity. So we're gonna, you know, we're gonna hit supersonic speeds on our way to victory. Alright, look. I've been sat here for like 20 minutes or so now, just trying to think about how in the hell I'm gonna go about reviewing this set in any kind of detail or palatable package for packaging. And I figured the only way I'm going to be able to do it without breaking my brain and forcing you to sit there through, you know, feature-length shenanigans is if I break it up into a couple of parts. Yeah, we'll do that. So, today we're going to be focused on Star Saber. So, first, let's just take a beat to talk about the bot, the myth, the legend that is Star Saber. I can remember, like, back end of high school when I started getting into Transformers again in, like, a fairly, you know, major way. I managed to find imported box sets for the 3 Japanese G1 series, and it just blew my mind that there was more G1 that I didn't know about. And I must confess, I did get the viewing order slightly askew, and I started with Victory. And my good gravy, what a start. The introduction to Star Saber as a character is just phenomenal. You've got this awesome spaghetti western robot hellscape where Star Saber, you know, does the slow walk-in Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star style, faces off with a couple of Genericons, and just looks like an all-around fistful of badass. So his role in his series Victory, he comes in and he takes over as Autobot Commander on Earth, and he is this series, you know, Prime, their Optimus. It's not quite how Japan did it, but, you know, that's the deal. Commanders, interchangeable, different segments. You know, because it's Transformers, kids weirdly get involved, people get new forms, there's big bads, there's Deathsaurus, and all in all, it's a fantastic anime of Transformers. I'm a huge fan. It's just so good to have, you know, a Chug-style version of this guy up in our world. But, is it what we've been hanging out for? Stay tuned. I tell you what, these Haslab releases are a masterclass in delayed gratification. This has been a review like, what, almost 2 years in the making? Alright, let's get into it, shall we? Firstly, looks incredible. He just looks magnificent, doesn't he? The gold, which I've already put fingerprints on. You know, on mine at least, all the paint apps seem quite crisp. I have seen some that have got, you know, chunks out of the shin and wrong pieces and stuff, but I don't think my copy is one of those copies. Because he's, you know, yet another American flag-based character, you can get a lot of surface variation out of him because of the different molding, and then all of these accents and highlights picked up around here that are paint apps. He has wow factor. Wow. What I also really like about him is that whilst he looks very, very G1, because it's the Legacy verse, they have added that extra surface detailing that you don't really get on the Masterpiece version that's going for maximum cartoon aesthetic. I know it's one of our fandom's pet peeves when people are like, oh, I saw Transformers and it was Gundam, but he does bring some big Gundam energy, doesn't he? I do know that for a lot of people, this upper torso area is going to be that little bit too gappy to feel completely, fully resolved. At this price point, given that this is meant to be El Primo Deluxo, you would have thought a couple of flaps wouldn't hurt anyone there, just to cover some of that up. So his articulation in this mode is interesting, if nothing else. Yeah, let's say interesting. His head can go, you know, all the way around, and then he's got a good amount of look up for some cool flying poses and things like that. And then, you know, his stalks can be put at whatever direction, angle you want. Oh man, I'm so afraid of breaking these. They're spindly. It's the look, it's the vibe, but delicate. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, the arm articulation is a little bit weird. So we can go all the way around on quite a tight ratchet, but then I honestly expected this to fold up from here masterpiece style, but it doesn't. This shoulder actually only moves from this section here and only comes out about that far. That's not enough articulation out of a shoulder that big for me. Did they learn nothing from Laser Prime? Gross. But then he's got a bicep swivel and a double jointed bicep under that shoulder. So you can get a 90 bend out of that, like you'd want to. His wrist swivel, and he's kind of got a little bit of that Jetfire thing where when you open his hand, the peg to hold the weapon goes away, but it doesn't go away as much as Jetfire's. So it's not quite as cool a gimmick. I'd have rather that attention went to making these shoulders move normal. It's a bit disappointing at a figure this size that we can't bend that shoulder out. He can barely get the width he needs for a shimmy shake. He swivels at the waist, and one thing that is quite cool, you get an ab crunch out of him. When you get to his waist, each of these skirt panels is independently articulated to reveal a nice universal. You also get a thigh swivel there as well, so, you know, it's not bad. I would have rather they, you know, moved with the leg, maybe. We get almost a 90 bend out of that knee, not quite. You can forgive it. He's from the age of, you know, the Mega Man shin. You get down, this toe is then kind of, you know, articulated, but mainly for transformation, you kind of want to tab that in. And you get a little bit of tilt out of it, but nothing to write home about. Ab crunch is great, but I don't know if ab crunch necessarily makes up for strained shoulders, and for the life of me, I don't understand why these are so minimal a tilt. Alright, whilst nothing feels particularly wrong about him quality-wise, there is just something a little bit strange in the strength of his ratchets versus how they're mounted that just makes moving him around feel a bit odd. Not sort of what you'd expect. If this was like a mainline mass-produced figure this size, you'd probably be like, alright, if this was the Commander class that we got, you'd be like, okay, I mean, he feels a little bit light, but that's fine. But when it's, you know, a crowd-funded big hoo-ha to do like that, I just expected a bit more heft, a bit more chunk to him. He doesn't feel as premium as I feel I was promised, but he's still good. So whilst you still can get him to throw some pretty sweet shapes, because of his odd articulation, all of his body language is a bit more closed and guarded than you'd really like such a high-flying sword-swinging guy to really be. Do you know what I mean? You want him to be giving Terry Bogard energy, and instead, he's kind of just giving us Andy Bogard energy. Which, don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with Andy. Andy's actually my favorite, but I thought I was getting Terry. There's a storm coming, and I'm gonna see it through. When it comes to accessories, he is packing the heat that you would expect from such a big boy. Firstly, we get that Star Saber. I do personally, I think the blade's a little short. I think it's a little bit of a short blade. But anyway, with his curly fist, you can make him hold it. He can't hold it down far enough if you don't want his wrist to get in the way. If you want to push it down all the way, then you run the risk of, you know, him not being able to really chop with it because it faces forwards. So to have it at like a sword wielding angle, you just have to offset it. Not the end of the world, but it would have been nice if there was a way around that or something. Chop. He then also comes with his awesome shield, which, if I remember correctly, was one of the unlockable tiers, which I think is a pretty cheeky thing to do. But you can have this piece twisted around like that. If you do, he'll be able to hold it like a more traditional shield. Chop, block, chop, block. Swords and shields with giant mechs. It's a weird one, but it's a staple of the genre, and I love it. Then, if you're so inclined, much like with the Masterpiece, and I think the original as well, you can take that blade and stow it in that leg sheath. Take this shield, twist it around like so, and actually tuck this bit away for storage. Just around, take this, put the nose in there, and then just peg it on. Then, what I quite like, and my favourite way of displaying it, is you've got these slots here that go with these tabs, and he can have an arm-mounted shield. Which then, if you want to do it like that, frees up a gun hand. Gun hand! It's It's a pretty small gun. I guess his big guns come from Victory Leo, which we'll get into later, but that's the gun. That's what you can do if you want, and it is blast effect compatible. Pew! I don't think they show it in the instructions, but if you want to keep the whole arm mounted thing, you can take this gun and use the same peg that you did for the shield to store that away. And I think the cool thing about that is then, as well as a shield, it's also a little sneaky shoot. Lock and shoot and block and shoot. So that's him with his accessories. I mean, the sword's not perfect, but when he's all fully, you know, kitted out, it's hard to complain too much. I wish he could throw a wider shape from that shoulders, but that's an articulation issue, not an accessory issue. That was for the last segment, but still, stupid shoulders. I do think it would have been nice if they just put 1 or 2 little blast effect tabs on there so that you could have it look like, you know, he's being fired upon and is having a block. Got to block until you get your chance to chop. That's block chop 101. Alright, now let's get into some comparisons. Let's first start him off with Power Master Optimus Prime. Then we'll chuck Earthrise Prime in there, because why the hell not? You know what I mean? It is an optimal comparison. I tell you what, if nothing else, this does make me wish I'd picked up the full, like, God Bomber set from Takara when that was an opportunity. I bet that's going to be super expensive nowadays. And then, because I can, how could I not? Let's peep him alongside some Star Sabers past with Masterpiece Star Saber and one of my personal grails, the OG Goat Boy himself, G1 Star Saber. So I must admit, the Masterpiece does have that extra joint there, but it still has that part where it bends out from under his shoulders there, which is a little bit odd. I do really just think that they should have made this piece part of the shoulder and this whole piece pivot from there, and you'd be able to get around further. I could have lived if there was a slight gap. So, as is so often the case with bots like these, there's a little more than meets the eye. He is a veritable badass babushka. So what you want to do is fold these wings forward. There's these side pieces here, which you can just untab by giving them a little wiggle on both sides. Fold them out. Torso away! And then take this off, because it immediately looks ridiculous. I do think, you know, the spring-loaded head wouldn't have been end of the world. It is a bit tack on a figure of this magnitude to have this degree of parts forming. But anyway, then we can bring this down. I'll do this in real time because it's not too difficult. Untab, fold out the shins off the leg. Oh, did you see that? That has been happening a lot on mine. I'm actually going to leave that off for this because it's just going to keep coming off. But anyway, you should, being the operative word, be able to untab that, put that arm up there. Then if you come around to these legs, it's not your standard squidge joint, right? So you kind of lever action it up like that. Then this is also a relatively easy time to fold around that toe, and then you just get everything back into place where a leg should go. Close it up, tab it up, and fold up that shin piece. Unfold that leg, squeedly spooch this piece out, levers up, fold up that shin out the way, get the toe as best you can, put that around, and then we're just gonna close it up, and that should lock it all into place. Then it's real simple, just fold out that fist. That's him in his little robot mode, sans arm. It just, I don't know what its deal is, but it just does not want to stay all the way on, ever. Always wants to be popping off. Get this hand out too. I don't want to spend too much time on him because, you know, who cares? So I think this full Nelson shows you everything you need to know about his articulation, right? Skirts are part of the hips. Dig it. Now what makes this guy so cool is that the gimmick is Brainmasters. So if we fold down the chest... What's that in there? He could be gone forever! Found him. So then, you just want to fold him away like that. Oh, it's tiny guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the teeny little super guy.
Teeny little super guy.
So he does work differently to your traditional Brainmasters. Your traditional Brainmaster has the squeegee body, and as you close the chest cavity on that transector, I guess, I don't know, it reveals the face. And then this little Brainmaster, he's even smaller than a Titan Master, than a Headmaster. Prime Master? He's small. He's a small guy. Little bits. I think it would have been kind of cool if they managed to have it compatible with the other headmasters and stuff, but anyway. What I do think is exceptionally impressive about this is once you've got this little fellow in there, this whole chest piece is actually a cylinder, so he doesn't affect the rotation of the head. You can get, you know, not all the way around, but whose head spins all the way around. Little boy Blue can go ahead and take the blaster. It actually looks a little bit intimidating with him. And then the idea is you collapse as much as you can of the handle, and then this will sit in his shoulder. Like days of yore! So I know you're thinking, well, that's all well and good, but what do I now do with this great honking thing? Well, the answer is simple. Bass mode! Bass mode. Bass mode. Bass mode. Step 1. Double fold the feet away. Tap dance another day. Spin him around. Fold down this bit, then those arms come up. Make sure they're all aligned. Fold away the fist. Twist. Fold. Untab this bit on the inside of the arm. I'll be honest, I can't help but feel that this is probably just him, what, halfway to, you know, spaceship mode? Whatever. Tuck him away. Fold it all up. You want to come over here, fold up these hip skirts. Make sure your legs are all nice and straight. Then turn them out to the side. Then you can put it down. From here, we're going to go ahead and get that shield, and it has a couple of tabs on it. And we're going to use it in much the same way that his chest tabs in. Then you want to fold down the face, so now no one can tell it's really his head. And then it should just, with these little bits here, sit on a bit at the back, which is hard to show you. Wow. The aggravating nature of that shield gimmick aside, this just isn't that cool a place to hang out, right? Haha, haha, no one will ever defeat me here. I'm behind some... Don't look at me! Alright, so to get the V-Star from base mode into spaceship mode, not too difficult. So we'll just put Saber to the side for a minute. Whoop! Focus on this bad boy. Let's... Oh my god, the shield is almost stuck on there properly. Let's cheese that shield out the way. Let's take his head. Put that off to the side for the time being. Then we're going to come over here, and what are we going to do? We're going to fold those in out of the way for the time being. Keep these all the way up, and then you're going to snap that leg at the thigh. It feels wrong, but just snap it. Pop and lock. Pop, pop. Pull down this tab and hinge the knee down inside the calf, and then just pop it back up. Fold this down, let you hinge that in, close it back up, like it is. Twist them around, and then it's a series of tabs. So these two here will plug in to these ones here, and what they sort of don't show you in the instructions, that tab there also needs to hook over that little notch there, which if you don't do, he doesn't stick together as well as he should, but it is nightmare fuel.
This is my nightmare!
What I find so scary about Haslab stuff is it's like, you know, you can't just take it back to the shops if it breaks. That's kind of then yours just forever, really, isn't it? Alright, once you got him like this, then you just pivot that down, give it the old plug. There's a couple of tabs on his butt that hold that in place. Then, bing, 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 bing. Get that head, fold up the face, fold that bit down, fold down his antenna, and now it's a gun pod. It's not his head, it's a gun pod. And that'll just nubbin in over this, like so. Alright, once you've got it to sort of this point, then you want to just grab the shield, and this back port here is going to go onto that tab. And there we have it, the V-Star ready to rock and roll. I do also love just having Saber standing on top of the transformed V-Star, because it's just cool. It's just a cool thing, right? How much does it remind you of Techno Man when Blade would ride on Pegasus? And it's also whenever Optimus would be riding on Wing Saber in Cybertron, like this is what they were homaging with that whole bit. Ugh, love it. I think it's also a good time to go ahead and use that stand because, you know, having him levitating like that is a total vibe. Come on, Pegasus. Da-na-na-na-na. Let's leave the V-Star to chill out here. And focus on Saber for a hot minute. So Saber's transformation is actually quite intuitive and it gives me big Combiner Wars energy. So we'll take that off and we'll get out his Brainmaster. Come on, little tacker. So, first thing we're going to do, wrists in, toe away, open up the legs, and just collapse them on down. Collapse the legs, close it up, tab them together, fold out those wings. Then you've got the space to tuck the arms into his side, if they're straight enough. They don't just sit there, they actually tab in on a couple little tabs. Close these back up, then we can unfold the wings, split these wings, get that head, fold that down inside the chest cavity, close it back up, and then that's where you'll stick this right down the middle. It does help a little bit if you open the cockpit sometimes, so open that cockpit and peg in that nose. Then while you've got the cockpit open, we may as well go and take our little daring aeronautics expert and have him do his piloting thing like he does in the cartoon. I'm a pilot! Then boom. Saber in vehicle mode. But as we know, that is only half the story. So to get him ready for, his big docking mode, right, we want to pivot the wings up like this, take these wings, push them down, and then that little notch there is going to peg onto that spring-loaded button at the back, which then to untab, right, don't gank it, you got to use that little red button. Now that is a hefty boy. While you've got him like this, you can also go ahead, get his gun, put it in somewhere. Where do they show to put it? Here or something like that. Hey, an extra gun, there you go. This is also a good place as well to get your blast effects in play. You can just go ahead and stick them in the actual thruster ports. Or you could use the bottom ones if you wanted. Or you could bust out 1,000,000 blast effects and fill them all. Worth noting as well is there is a lot of those awesome hexagonal ports around the place, so if you really wanted to, you could go ahead and weaponize him a further degree. Which I think I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? Why not? Why not maximize the shooty bang bang? So that is pretty much Star Saber in a nutshell. Make sure you like and subscribe and all that jazz if you hadn't, because coming hot off the heels of this review, we're gonna have part 2, where we take a good look at this chongus. Look at him. What's up with that head? He looks like he's joining Fred and Barney at the lodge. I'm pretty excited to get into He Who Was Prime. I know he's not technically Prime, but you know what I mean, right? How often does an Optimus-like character, a convoy, a Ginrai, end up getting a new mode where they're no longer Optimus-y? I would say this is probably the one time. What do you think? Have you got him? Are you getting him? Does this make you want to get him? Does this make you feel good about your choice not to get him? Be sure to let me know. Hit me up in the comments below. Let's get nerdy with it. And until then, catch.